blessings and testimonies.
Yeah. Yes. So, just to say just one or two quick things that I would like to conclude on pride. So the exaltation of the self above all is what will bring our death. There is always someone who can do something better than us. There is someone who has a better skill than us. We must never think that we are it and there is no one else but us, about me. We cannot exalt ourselves above one another. We all come from the same soil, been given the same spirit. We are the same flesh and blood, and no one is greater than the other in God's sight. And therefore, we must not exalt ourselves above another person. In the same way, we must not think that by we are doing a good thing if we bow down and make ourselves less. In the sense, we say we're humbling ourselves before another. That is not humility. That is fear and intimidation. That I making somebody greater than me because I think that I am less. The only person you should do that to is Jesus Christ. Only Jesus. And anybody demand that kind of adoration from you, you must refuse. I'm not saying that you mustn't give respect and so on to persons because of what they represent. But don't exalt anyone above you. Christ is the only one. Do you know, the Pope is the head of the church, but the Pope is equal. He's an equal brother among all the brother bishops. He leads. He has the authority, yes, as head. But he has to sit down with the other bishops. He is a brother among them. Same thing for bishops here in the region. They sit are the priests. They sit. Right? Even with the bishop and the priest is under the bishop in one sense that he serves. He's the helper of the bishop. But when they sit, the bishop is also a priest among the priests. He is one who offers sacrifices in the same way as the priest does. The only difference is that he has been placed as the head to serve, to oversee, to lead in humility. So, many times we very often think that we are so good that we don't make mistake. You know the prim and proper people? Well, I'm not talking about the prim and proper people. You know, people who be nice and so on. I'm not talking about them because they will realize soon or later that they are not as nice as they think they are. Right? It only takes something to happen and you realize, I can't believe it's this person. So, a person that is full of pride is a person who thinks that he makes or she makes no mistake, that everything is perfect. I am not saying there are not people who can do something to perfection. We all have the capacity of doing things to perfection. But we must realize that when we are able to attain such thing, it is not from our doing, but there is an inner power that is working within us to enable us to achieve. So it means that we have to always defeat pride with humility, knowing that, yes, I can act, but I know that I'm not acting on my own, that there is something or someone greater that is working within me that is helping to accomplish this. That is true humility. Humility is to acknowledge where I am. Humility is integrity of the self, to be true to the self. True to the self, I mean in what is good and what is right. Not true to the self in is, well, that's how I am. Nobody can change me. And that is how I born. And I was to all my years. People have that kind of, that is still pride. That is still pride because you think you can't change. So I'm not talking about that. I'm speaking in terms of a person who realizes, I am gifted. The Lord has given me this gift, and I am going to use it to the best of my capability to serve the purpose. The other thing is that when we are engaged as a leader or otherwise engaged in society, we must remember that there is always a time when someone will rise that will do something even better than you. That is one of the problems with religious people. Religious people, because they do not, it's kind of different with you in a way, right? I will tell you why. You are mothers, we have maybe fathers here. You would do things, you would accomplish things, not just in terms of education, but you may create. You may have a child, you have something that you can see, you build your house, and so on. Now, in the Catholic religion, it's a bit different because the priest don't build a house, he may build a church, all right? Unless somebody gives him a house, right? But he doesn't do that. His method is really to deal, working and helping people on the way to salvation. But because he doesn't produce anything tangible, you cannot see what he's doing. So I'm doing a lot of stuff. Every day I'm busy. But at the end of the day, I ask myself, what have I achieved? What have I accomplished? Well, I'm just serving people. I'm just doing this with people, or whatever. So there is no tangible thing that you can watch and say, I built that altar. You understand what I'm saying? So because of that, there is always something called competition, even though sometimes religious people don't want to admit it. They compete against each other, and they also create fraction among each other. All because one wants to prove themselves to be better than the other. That is pride. That is pride at its work. And we can see that sin operating there within religious communities and also within any kind of close communities. You will see it because there isn't that. And then, of course it exists in other society, but then you have better than the Joneses. Better than the Joneses. That is where you see among better than Joneses. Somebody change a window in the house and they put on one of these fancy windows. The next person, they don't have the money, but they're going to credit union, break the walls and put in 2. Eh? Or they go to the coolie man and pay and so on. So we pressure ourselves against each other, and we don't know that, as Brother Lawrence said, we are really the agent of Satan in engaging ourselves in the whole sin of pride. And therefore we have to ask the Lord to break this from us. And I believe, you know, these things that we'll do today with the symbolism and so on is also a way to help us to deal with these things that are deeply rooted in us. You can get rid of pride. And the simplest way to get rid of pride and the best way is to just bow before Almighty God and let Him know that you cannot do anything without Him. God has already empowered us to live for Him. But we allow ourselves to be so scarred by our own sinfulness and darkness that we cannot fight ourselves out of it. It is the same God who will help us. We have to come to Him and say, God, help me. Help me to come out of that. And He is going to help you. Day by day, you'll find yourself breaking what's called pride out of your system until you always become a humble servant in His presence. And humility don't mean that you must be stupid. It doesn't mean you must make anybody walk on you or to be a doormat for anybody. That is not humility. That is stupidity. Right? Humility comes when I acknowledge that there is a power greater than me, and that without that power, I am nothing in this world.